D-Day brought about both tragedy and triumph. Many men lost their lives, but the victory of D-Day saved many lives from Hitler's reign. In 1939, Adolf Hitler's focus was to control all of Europe. By the end of 1941, Germany allied with Italy and Japan, and after many battles, controlled almost all of Europe as well as northern Africa. The United States entered the war after the famous Japanese raid of the U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Together with Great Britain, the Americans formed a coalition known as the Allies that included Canada, the Soviet Union, and over a dozen other countries. The Allies prepared to fight against the Axis powers, which included Germany, Japan, and Italy. To prepare for the invasion, the Allies put together troops and equipment in Britain. They also increased the number of airstrikes and bombings in German territory. To fool the Germans, the Allies developed a deception plan to draw the attention away from Normandy. Operation Fortitude was designed to convince the Germans the attack would occur northeast of Normandy. Fake radio traffic and decoy equipment, such as inflatable tanks and dummy landing crafts, mimicked a large-scale invasion northeast of Normandy. Right before the invasion, the Allies bombed railroads, bridges, airfields, and other strategic places in order to slow down the German army. The Germans knew that an invasion was coming. What they didn't know was where the Allies would strike. Operation Overlord was the name of the real, elaborate plan that was being kept secret until it was set into motion. Although the D-Day invasion had been planned for months, it was almost canceled due to bad weather. On June 5, 1944, General Eisenhower at 9:45 p.m. finally agreed to attack despite the overcast skies. Although the weather had some effect on the Allies' ability to attack, it also made the Germans think that no attack was coming and they were less prepared. General Eisenhower prepared a speech that night from the Allied headquarters in England. Eisenhower composed a solemn and inspirational letter that was delivered the next day into the hands of every soldier, sailor, and airman preparing for Operation Overlord. Eisenhower also transmitted a now historic message to all members of the Allied Expeditionary Force over the radio.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
The airborne bombers had not been able to deploy their loads over Omaha due to cloudy conditions, so the defenses were mostly intact. Because the landing crafts got stuck on the sandbanks, many troops had to bravely walk in deep waters toward the shore. This left them completely exposed to the firing from German lines. Many troops didn't make it onto the beach and died in the water. The Americans suffered 2,400 casualties at Omaha, but 34,000 troops had landed by the end of the day. With reinforcements, Omaha Beach was eventually taken in 3 days. Over 150,000 men landed from the sea onto the beaches on that day alone during an assault that required over 11,000 aircraft, 3,500 gliders, and 20,000 vehicles. By nightfall, about 175,000 Allied troops and 50,000 vehicles had breached the shore, with nearly 1 million more men on the way that summer. By June 11th, the beaches were firmly secured. By the end of August 1944, the Allies had pushed the Germans out of most of France. With the Allies advancing to France, the Germans lost confidence, and this began the end of the Nazis' control of Western Europe. From then on, the Allies continued their stride into Germany that would finalize the war and end the Nazi Party. On April 30th, Adolf Hitler committed suicide and the Germans surrendered on May 7, 1945, ending the conflict in Europe. The tragedy of D-Day was huge. By the end of the invasion of Normandy, more than 425,000 Allied and German troops were killed, wounded, or went missing. Allied casualties tragically ended 209,000 dead. Although the tragedy was great, the triumph was a great turning point of 20th century history. The way to appreciate D-Day's triumph is to think what would have happened if the mission had failed. Another landing would not have been possible for at least a year. This would have given Hitler time to strengthen the Atlantic Wall, harass England with newly developed weapons, and continue to develop jet aircraft. It would also given Hitler time to complete his killing campaign. The world could have been a different place if Hitler and the Nazis continued their reign.